Hello there everyone, this is Lilith and welcome to another one of my videos for All to New. Have you ever wondered what you can do with all of those leftover scraps of pretty paper? Well, today I'm going to give you a great idea on how to use them. So let's have a look at the supplies. I've got the Wild and Free stamp and die set, inspirational quotes and block sentiments. I'll see which I will use while I create. I pulled out a couple of papers from my paper stash and I went through them, sorted through them and pulled out papers and colors that will work well together. There are a whole array of papers here, pattern papers and also some watercolor cardstock with some leftover watercolor, which I usually just smooch onto the watercolor paper. I'm going to use this lovely grid paper which comes from the Our Family scrapbook collection, and I'm just going to pop that onto my white background and cut off the edges. I'm putting this on a diagonal just to make it a little bit different. My photo I'm going to mat onto some leftover black paper just to make it pop off the page. Now, for all those leftover pieces of pattern paper, I've got a great idea on how to use them up. First of all, I always plan at least 2 or 3 projects in the month where I use leftovers. This can be leftover flowers, leftover embellishments, or leftover paper. That way I know I use everything and I don't have to throw anything away. Now, this is a great technique to use up leftover paper. So let me just glue down my photo and then we can start working on our embellishments. As a scrapbooker, I never have enough embellishments, so I try to make my own, and this is a great way of creating your own embellishments and at the same time using up all that leftover paper. So I've just put out all that lovely pattern paper onto my craft mat, and I'm going to stamp an array of different flowers from the Wild and Free stamp set onto my papers. And I'm stamping several of them at the same time onto the pattern paper. And I'm also choosing different shapes just to mix it up a little bit. So I'm going to be stamping a whole lot of flowers, and then once those have been stamped onto the paper, I will leave them to dry because some of these pattern papers are a little bit glossy and I'm stamping with obsidian. So I will put them to one side so they're nice and dry and don't smudge when I cut them out. Once these are all dry, I will use the coordinating dies and cut all of these lovely flowers and leaf shapes out. So now that I've cut out all of my pretty flowers, I'm going to cut out some leaves as well. Instead of using pattern paper, I'm using a leftover scrap of watercolor paper with this lovely green shade on it. Now, usually when I watercolor with a palette. So I add my color to a palette and then add that to my project. And I always have leftover watercolor on the palette. So I will take a piece of watercolor paper, just add a bit of water and dab that into the color. And then I get these lovely fun backgrounds which I use for cards or like here for my scrapbooking project. So now that I've stamped all the leaves onto the watercolor paper, I'm just going to use the dies to cut out all those pretty leaf shapes. Having coordinating dies is really great as it speeds up the process. Now I wonder, how do you use up your scrap pieces of paper, all those lovely leftovers? I'm looking for loads of new ideas to use my papers. So for my layout, I'm going to build up 3 clusters, 2 around the photo and then another one more to the top where the 2 pieces of washi tape meet. In doing so, I create a visual triangle which will guide the eye over my photo, and it will really frame it in nicely. At the same time, I will still have lots of white space, which is one of my favorite things on projects. The finishing touches will be a couple of enamel dots in the same colors as those pretty flowers, and for my title I will use a sentiment from the block sentiment stamp set. Now, if you want more information on all the products used, and if you want to see an extra project which I created with all my little leftovers, hop on over to the All to New Mixed Media blog. Don't forget to like this little video and subscribe if you want more inspiration. Thank you so much for joining me, and I hope to see you very soon with another layout or card or project for All to New. Have a lovely day. Happy scrapping. Bye-bye.
Hello crafters, I hope you enjoyed that video. If you want to see more, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the notification bell so you don't miss anything. Thanks for watching!